Hello, my lovely audience. So, this is What If Deku Was Anarky? Now, if you don't know who Anarky is, if you ever played Batman Arkham Origins, he was one of the side missions. And boy, oh boy, was he a dangerous side mission. You had to defuse bombs and all that fun stuff. Anyways, so, Deku is not going to be how you think he would be. So, basically, Deku is... Well, how do I put this? He is going to have an amazing overpowered quirk that has a lot of limitations. Basically, it is going to be called Detonation. If you have a better name, please tell me. And boy, oh boy, is this going to be fun. So what the quirk is if he puts all 5 fingers down on something. No, actually... I'm going to go with this one. There was a couple variations that me and Lazy came up with for this type of quirk. So yeah, let's use this one. So basically, he is able to turn it on and off this quirk. Basically, he heats up his hands, touches something, and for prolonged time, the bigger explosion it will have. Basically, it leaves a handprint on the item. And it has to be a processed item. It can work if it's manipulated by a quirk. It can work like that. And if it's processed like clothing, anything like that. You know what I mean? Like it has to be made through something. Like, it has to be a mixture of things added into it and all that stuff. It has to be processed or at least manipulated in some way by a quirk. So we're talking overhaul. Yes, he can explode his everything he throws at him. If he is, he has to touch it. He has to touch it. If it's a sword, yes. If it's clothing, yes. If it's any type of object that's processed, yes. So pottery, yes. Now as for what he's going to also, don't mind the jet engine in the back. I was going to be playing some PlayStation with a good friend of mine named Rory, if you know him. Anyways. So, Deku is going to be... Holy crap, is he going to be OP. But, at the same time, how he finds out about this... Oh, and how he detonates this is very fun. He claps his hands. So, yeah, he's going to blow stuff up when he's clapping. But he has to touch it, and his hands will heat up. Now, how this quirk works, in essence, is it destroys matter. But he cannot destroy living things. That is the thing. He cannot destroy flesh or living things at all. And so far, he can only use the detonation in his hands and his feet for this what if. So... Deku is going to be heavily bullied, but not by Bakugou. In fact, it's Bakugou who stands up for him. People are going to be saying that he has such a villainous quirk, you're such a terrorist. And Bakugou would hear this and go up to him and say, I shoot explosions from my hands. If you're going to call him a terrorist, call me one as well. Otherwise, you're going to die. Yeah, we all know he would say it. We all know he would say that. He's an idiot when he talks. So let's be honest, he would say it. So yeah, he would stand up for him and say that you're not a villain, and basically the two would become a lot better friends, as in they would have a whose dick is bigger contest by making the bigger explosions. Yeah, so they're doing a lot of quirk training early on. And I'm going to say that to make this story a lot more fun, Deku's mom is going to be in a comatose state due to a villain attack that rendered her in a coma. And basically, yeah, the odds of her waking up are 0. And Deku hates villains more than anything, and seeing how Mitsuki sees Deku and Bakugou as best friends, she would adopt Deku and take him in, and yeah, he would be well, in a way, her adopted son and Bakugou's brother. So yes, we're doing this. Now, as for what is going to happen, yeah, Deku and Bakugo they look like rivals, but they're really just best of friends, and it's so stupid. So yeah, let's get on with this. What if? So, what ends up happening is that Deku and Bakugo, they would be training together, they'd be doing everything together, studying, all that stuff. And the two would be a lot closer than before. Oh, I mean a lot closer. And Deku would be like a mini Bakugo sometimes. Like, if he gets pissed off, he's like Bakugo. And for early development for his hero costume, this is pretty much what it would look like. And the reason why he chooses an Anarky symbol is because he says disorder would be great for the villains. Having them being, like, not knowing what to do and complete chaos would be the easiest way to clean them up. Because organized crime is so much harder to deal with than, chaos. Now, as for what is going to happen, okay, so the Sledgehammer attack, Deku would be having a pair of gloves on, and these gloves would be a way for him to, charge up an explosion while also, being ready. So yeah, he would charge up an explosion through these gloves, and they would start burning red because of how long he's charging it up. And by the way, how many things can he touch? Because there is a limit to how many things he can touch and then blow up. So it's 5 things per hand, meaning 10 things. And he only needs to clap once to detonate them all. So, what ends up happening is this. The Sledgehammer that's his body, that's his bodily fluids. He ain't gonna blow the fluids up. There's no way he could do that. So I'm gonna say that fluids, water, he can't blow up, because it's not under the same, circumstances. So, what ends up happening next is this. Deku, well, how do I put this? He basically gets hit by the Sledgehammer, and then with his hands, he kind of just blows them up, having the Sledgehammer blown right off him, like completely all over the walls. And his hands, well, also I should mention this, he does have a slight immunity to anything of heat and fire, so, because of his explosions. And that is going to be kind of overpowered in my opinion. But yeah, he had a quirk mutation that was, in essence, overpowered as all fuck. And what ends up happening here is this. Deku, well, he sorta, when he blew up the Sledgehammer, All Might would come around the corner and see him changing into clothes because his clothes would have blown up as well. And I'm going to say that Deku's also been working on a pair of underwear made of his own hair because, well, it's the only thing that doesn't blow up as well, so there's that. Now, yeah, so, yeah, Deku is basically, how do I put this? Yeah, he just kind of blew up his own clothes and is changing in front of All Might, who then he fanboys over, and, well, he does the famous in front of All Might when he runs off after giving him his autograph. And would the Sledgehammer come back after this? I'm going to say yes, actually, because I want Deku and Bakugo to have a moment where they show off their quirks. Deku would be running home when he, stops to see Bakugo, because he would be ahead of him, getting attacked by the Sledgehammer. And having a new pair of gloves on, he's ready to take this fucker out. So he charges in, running towards the villain, and he screams Kanchan at the Sledge Monster. And holy shit, is this going to be fun. So Bakugo would know what he's doing and start exploding everything he's got into this sledge villain. And then he would then put his hand on Bakugo, pulling him out, and putting his hand like right where kind of like would be like propelling how do I put this? It's kind of hard. He puts his arm mounted on Bakugo's back and butt, I would say, and then has his hand like lifted upward, kind of like he would be. God, I can't really explain it. He's lifting his hand upward, and like kind of like how Iron Man lifts his hand up to shoot his repulsor blast. Think of it like that, and then blows up both hands. Actually, no, I would say. Yes, no, that wouldn't make sense because he didn't clap his hands. Fuck. Well, actually, yeah, he could do it because clap his hands. So, technically, I guess he would throw the gloves at them. Like, rip the gloves off and throw them. That's how he does it. Fuck it. I'm just going to change it around a bit because I just made no sense at all for this first part. So, yeah, he would take his gloves off and throw them at him. And kind of just blow them up, yeah. Or better yet, I'm going to say that if he snaps his fingers too, it works. Like if he snaps one finger, it has to be at least making some kind of, yeah, I'm going to say if he snaps his fingers on either hand, it blows up one or the other. So, there's that. So yeah, he basically blows up the Sledgeron, having it go off of him, and completely destroying the Sledgeron, and, well... yeah, he gets Bakugo to safety, and the heroes would scold him, and Bakugo and Deku would then be throwing everything they got. Basically, there'd be concrete on the road that's like kind of like in a form of a rock. Deku would have it, then throw it, and if he claps both his hands, it's a bigger explosion than if he snaps. So, yeah. And these explosions are way bigger than Bakugo's. And these kids are basically handling the villain, and then the heroes come in and basically get them to safety. And after it's all over, both Bakugo and Deku are scolded, but at the same time congratulated that their quirks are so strong and that they saved one another in a way. And then they both walk off, happy as could be. All Might wondering, who should he give his quirk to? Because they're both very strong and quite fit. So who should he give his quirk to? And mind you, we already know that everyone in My Hero Academia is already super soldiers because Deku was able to get like muscle to lift 568 pounds. That's from what the wiki says. So I guess everyone's already superhuman in a way, so that's fun. So I'm going to say that Deku can lift upwards to 1,200 pounds because how much training he has done. So yeah. Now, as for what is going to be going on is this. So, Deku, for the, for when he goes to UA, the 6 months of training is just basically them doing the same thing over and over and studying and all that. So, yeah, what ends up happening is this. During this little exam, this lovely, lovely UA exam, Deku, well, he's kind of interesting on how he did the written exam. Both him and Bakugo tied. They have the exact same amount of points, and yeah, they tied, which is terrifying because they're both in first place. Which would surprise Nezu, that two kids, and then they find out, oh, Izuku Midoriya is also, from what it says, it has the same address as Bakugo, as young Bakugo, and they would think that, oh, maybe that they live together in some way, so I guess this makes sense. And let's see here. So, for what would end up happening next is this. Deku is going to be... let's see. I'm going to say that when he does the practical exam, he is going to be just running up to robots, grabbing onto them, and then running away, and then clapping his hands, blowing them all up in unison. Holy crap, is this going to be funny. Because all I'm thinking of is V for Vendetta, and just boom, 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 ba-doom. Oh, it's so much fun. So yeah, they're all blowing up, and it's awesome. And what ends up happening next is simple. Deku, well, for the 0-pointer, is going to, well, he's pretty much been practicing this for when he needs to, and that is basically using his feet to charge up a explosion underneath him to propel him upward. And he does this. And he basically grabs onto the 0-pointer and then jumps off, clapping his hands, exploding him into, blowing him up and having him being engulfed in flames, and then pretty much using his clothing to blow him up, to actually push him upwards to land on the ground and safely get Araka out of there, and then snapping his fingers to blowing up all the rubble and everything, having him have a really cool moment of saving her. Because cool guys don't look at explosions. And I would say all the teachers are very surprised because Deku accumulates more points than anyone else in all of UA because how much destructive power he is just pushing out, really. And what ends up happening is not only does he surpass Bakugou, but only by 60 points. Because I'm going to say that Bakugou's gotten a lot stronger without his gauntlets in this. So yeah. Now, as for what is going to happen with, oh, my phone's not charging. Crap. It's really low. See? Really low. Alright, let's see if I can get this charged. There we go. I have to sit down now. Fun. Next to a jet engine. Great. So, for the, when Deku and Bakugou, get their, slip saying that they got in and they're in the same class, they kind of bro out and start hugging and guess huge celebration of food. And oh boy, are they psyched. Because when they walk in, it's like they already owned middle school and were the kings of middle school. Now they're going to be the kings of UA. And oh boy, is this going to be fun, because on the physical exam, I'm going to say that Deku does amazing. Except he doesn't do good on the I would say the ball throw, because his quirk would destroy the ball. So he just throws it normally. And I would say he has a good throwing arm, because how many times he's thrown things, like his the thing that he's going to have for on his hero suit is going to be these rubber balls that have so much mass and it's dense as all hell. So think about that for a second. The more mass there is, the bigger the explosion. So yes. And rubber is very dense. So that's fun. And he's going to throw these things. And rubber balls are very, very heavy. Oh, no, well, depending on big. So these things are in the size of his hand. So, yeah, they fit about the size of his hand. Which his hands would be a lot bigger, and he'd be a lot taller, because he'd be a lot healthier. So, yeah. Now, as for what is going to happen with Deku and this, entrance exam, the little fitness exam that Aizawa has, Araka would thank Deku, and a lot of girls would be falling for Deku because he'd look a lot hotter in this. I'm just saying that because it's weird and fuck yeah. So yeah, he'd be a lot more like on Todoroki's level of holy fuck, that's hot. Is from what I'd take, probably. I don't know what I'm saying. Anyways, so for what is going to happen for what if Deku, let's see here. So, Mineta is going to get booted out, and Kendo is going to join the class. Now, as for what is going to happen next is this. Heroes versus villains. Who's going to be on whose team? Bakugou and Deku. Because they don't know how good they would work as a team. Oh, whoops. So yeah, they're going to see how good they work. And they're going to be on the villain team. And it's Araka with Ida this time. Oh boy! This is going to be awesome. And what ends up happening here is this. They both completely destroy the entire building. Bakugou goes hunting for them, for the heroes, while Deku stays back with the bomb. And he's doing something horrible. As in, he's touching the floor. Think about this for a second. He's basically, if you've ever played Rainbow Six Siege, everywhere is a hatch. And he just has breaching charge hands. And he is touching the floor. And he's waiting for them to come in so he can clap his hands, having the whole floor get leveled and blown up. Actually, you know what? No, I'm going to say the ceiling is going to get leveled. And it's going to completely just drop something on them. No, I'm going to just... Yeah, floor sounds better. And what ends up happening here is this. I'm going to say that Ida gets past Bakugou, but Araka gets taken down by Bakugou, and Bakugou is just coming back, warning Deku that a fast guy is coming in hard. And boy, does Ida come in hard, because once he comes in, boom! Completely leveled the entire floor, having it crashing down. And Ida would then be coming in hot for Deku, who would then be charging up a ball, throwing it at Ida, and hitting Ida straight in the chest, blowing it up, and completely launching him back, destroying his hero suit, having it in pieces. And it's kind of pushed inward into his chest, having him go hit the wall, destroying the engines that were on his back. The exhaust pipes, the exhaust pipes on his back. And yeah, so they win. They have subdued the heroes. And I would say they get highly congratulated by All Might, who would say that their this exam was to see how good they would work in a team, but not only did they work individually better, but at the same time, their quirks are so different compared to the other, but at the same time, so similar and interesting. One is able to use them as like a breaching charge for like detonation and blow up in unison, while the other is able to fire off explosions from their hands. And it's really impressive. Now, as for what is going to happen with the USJ, well, let's put it this way. Bakugou is going to be on that yacht. Yeah, instead of Mineta, Bakugou is going to be on that yacht, and Kendo is going to be with Kirishima. So yeah. Now as for what is going to happen with Deku and all that, is this. Deku and Bakugou, oh boy. By the way, Kirishima is very interested in both Bakugou and Deku, who would be very overpowered in this. I mean, very overpowered is what's happening with Deku and Bakugou. Oh boy. Oh boy. And I'm going to say that when they get to the USJ, what does Deku do on this yacht, you may ask? Well, basically this. Froppy is going to get on Bakugou's back, and Deku is going to say this. You get her out of here using your explosions to fly out of here. I'm going to blow up this yacht, creating enough force to beach everyone in the water. And giving you guys enough force to get launched across over to where there's where the heroes are, where the rest of the class are fighting Kirigiri. And what ends up happening here is this. The villains are all swimming towards the yacht. This is going to be fun. The explosion is so big, how do I put this? It destroys the entire yacht. And this thing is made of metal. And he's basically infusing it with energy that's making it all the mass unstable. That's basically how this quirk works. And he's completely destroying it. It's almost like a nuke, but it's not. Honestly, it's not. It's not destroying the atoms. It's just destroying the matter, which is, yeah. And boy, oh boy, is this going to be fun. So, yeah, the boat explodes. And it creates like a tidal wave where all the water is being lifted and pushed over the villains and lifting them up and having them hit every villain on the other side. And also have Bakugou and Froppy flying, as well as Deku going flying with them in the air with his rubber balls, throwing them at the villains who are in the water and having them detonate. And he's also throwing them at the Nomu and all that Basically, he's a bomber plane right now. And he's blowing everybody up. And Aizawa is appreciating the extra help, but at the same time is amazed that this is something that he can do. And it basically, at this point, he's like leveling the playing field. He's completely making everything be more in the favor of Aizawa. And I'm going to say that the Nomu would go after Deku, who, at this point, I've looked up and how Nomus are made. And, oh boy, they're mostly synthetic, pretty much. There's no way that body is human. That is pretty much synthetic. I've looked up on multiple sites, but there was one site saying that it is made through inorganic material. Can't remember which site that was, but I will look it up through my search history. If I even have search history, because I use the private settings, so no one can ever know what I'm doing. Or what I'm doing. I don't even know what I'm doing sometimes. I looked up Space Movie 92, and also why cornflakes were invented. And I am glad they're not on my search history. Now, basically what ends up happening next is this. Deku is going to straight up not only destroy the entire playing field, but the Nomu would be going towards him. And he would not only blow up the amount of force that is going to be going into the Nomu, but also this. He grabs hold of the Nomu's arm. And it is charging up the Nomu. Now, mind you, if you have a nervous system, you would feel what it feels like to have energy pour into your fucking cells and all the matter that's in you. And it is hurting a lot. This hurts a lot when it goes into you. And it is screeching in pain by how much pain it is feeling. Yes, this thing can feel pain, I'm going to say it. Because this thing will be feeling something it's never felt before. Its nervous system being destroyed. Oh boy. When he claps his hands, all but the Nomu's brain is destroyed in nervous system. So imagine that for a second. It blew up. Meaning that Aizawa would come to the conclusion that either this kid went plus ultra, or this thing wasn't human. And he would be going with the latter, that this thing wasn't human. And would be kind of interested that they have someone that's going to be able to take down things that are like this. Like, not only would Shigaraki be wondering who the hell is this kid and how can we get him, but also he's going to be wondering, is this kid All Might's successor in some way? What is this kid's quirk? What is going on? Holy shit, this is insane. And this thing just blew up in bloody form, like a bloody fashion. And I'm going to say that basically for the rest of the time, Shigaraki and Hirakiri are gone. They ran. And all the villains, basically Deku and Bakugou, are blowing them up with their explosions. And oh boy, is everyone just getting hit by this. They're blowing up. It's like World War I. There's mortars. It's basically D-Day at this point. I mean, seriously, it looks bad for the villains. They're getting hit by so many things. And I would say that Momo would be saved a lot easier because there being so many explosions that the villains would have to focus their manpower on Aizawa now. And what ends up happening is this. Momo would then team up with Deku. And how so? She creates things. She would create a bunch of rubber balls for Deku. And creating more and more and more and more and more for him to use as ammunition. And right when All Might comes in, most of the villains are already done for. There's only 5 left. I mean, seriously, there are only 5 left. And what ends up happening next is this. Both Deku, Bakugou, Aizawa, everybody's congratulated, really. And Aizawa would even congratulate both Bakugou and Deku more because if they weren't there, they provided so much crowd control that it was enough to help them, like help him take down all these villains. If they weren't there, he would not have been able to do as much as he could. So he thanks both Midoriya and Bakugo. And I would say that they are also told to never do that again, but still, they have done something amazing. Now, for the sports festival. This is basically what Deku's going to be looking like, and oh boy, is this going to be fun. So, for the race, Deku's going to get there pretty easily. He's going to be running, pretty fast, actually, and getting there pretty quick, and using his glove, his shoes, to launch him over the mines, and pretty much past Bakugo and Todoroki and everybody, and he would be taking the metal plate from the robot and be using that to propel him into the arena, where he gets the huge amount of points. Yes, he gets first. And for what ends up happening to the cavalry, it's going to be Bakugo, Deku, Araka, and I'm going to say Kirishima. So yeah. And what's this team's going to be looking like is this. So Deku is going to be on the left, Kirishima is going to be on the right, Araka is going to be carrying the front, which isn't going to be as much weight because Deku's going to be supporting most of the front, and Araka would be a lot heavier set build of a girl. Like, she'd be more fit. Because let's be honest, she works with her dad in construction, so of course she'd be fit. And Bakugo, what their game plan is this. They're going to do something similar that I did in my Mandalorian What If, where she hits Bakugo and he flies up while Deku is, remember, there's no hero gear, so he's using his clothing here. So, yeah. What ends up happening here is this. They're blowing up all the teams that they can, using explosions and all that. And basically, Bakugo's in the air floating, and he's using his explosions to keep him up. And when he's falling down, Araka and everyone is basically catching him. And they basically are going to accumulate more points and realize every other team's been basically fuck off. Because they got they got crowd control and explosions and basically someone to take the force. And why I said Bakugo and Kirishima and Deku are on the left and right is because of this. They are, how do I put this? They're going to take the front of his explosions to propel him so far up. That's why. Because Deku's immune to fire and heat, and Kirishima's can harden his body. So there's that. And yeah, it's basically Liftoff. Alright, now let's continue on with this What If. So for the rest of the sports festival, Deku is going to be, how do I put this? He's going to, let's see here. Versus Deku and Shinso, and also the reason why they teamed up was because they want to see each other on the finals. Bakugo would be the one giving the speech, saying that there can only be number one. Only one person that's a winner here. And, it's either me or him, pointing at Izuku Midoriya. And, yeah. So that's basically what's going to happen. That's how highly Bakugo thinks of Deku. And, yeah, this is going to be fun. So, Deku versus Shinso. Deku is going to pretty much charge at Shinso, because it doesn't seem like he has capabilities to take him down offensively. From what he heard about Ojiro, it was like he was suddenly being controlled, so best to take him out quick. And yeah, he gets taken out very quickly. As in, he gets his clothes grabbed and kind of just try to get pushed out, but what ends up happening here is this. Basically, Deku's gloves are in his, like collar, and he kind of just pushes Shinso back, and well, what ends up happening is Shinso pushes him off him, and he wasn't trying to push him off. No, he was just trying to touch his clothing, and he then claps his hands, blowing up Shinso's clothes, having him launched out of the arena, the little arena pit, whatever you want to call it. Sorry, I just got, there we go. Anyways, so what ends up happening next is this. Deku, how do I put this? It's Deku versus Todoroki. Oh boy. Todoroki gets his ass kicked, in a way. The ice that he is producing is enough mass for Deku to completely destroy and blow up. Basically, he's blowing up the entire playing field, and even the slab of rock that's underneath him. And yeah, basically, he says to Todoroki when he's kind of like, well, he's kind of blown up everything that is, that Todoroki has produced, and he says to him, and smirks, saying, if you used your fire side. After all, it's only your quirk. It was your quirk when you were born. When it's not your dad's quirk, it's yours. How stupid can you be? And to put on a show, this is what happens. Todoroki, being frozen on one side, decides to burn Deku. And burn him he does. But the judges don't know about Deku's fire immunity. Deku doesn't really know about it either. But basically this is what happens. Basically, Todoroki uses all of his fire in one go. And starts burning Deku. Immediately. Pretty close range too, like point blank range. And completely, pretty much pushes him back a bit. And everybody is wondering, how is this kid alive? Get him out of there, get the heroes in there. And the heroes are about to charge in. But that's when Deku punches Todoroki. Sizzling. He's got a nice little tan going on too. And what ends up happening here is this. It's because of his quirk. How much explosive heat is producing, basically. Yeah, he's kind of immune to his own explosions to an extent. So yeah, Todoroki just got punched in the face and had his clothing pulled at. And then what ends up happening here is this. Todoroki wondering, how is he not down? How is he not gone? Deku claps his hands, blowing him up and having him go out of the ring. And the entire stone slab is kind of just completely destroyed. At this point, they were just saying, all right, we got a basic idea of where they are on the stone slab just by rubble pieces and all that. So they're still in, but it's insane. So the whole arena part had to be remade by the teacher. And that was fun. Now, I'm going to say this. If he uses explosions too much, it is going to mess with his hands and give him chronic pain. Basically, that burning, it just feels like a tingling to him, but it really is going to be hurting his hands a lot. And I mean, a lot. Now, as for what is going to happen, is this. Deku is going to go against Bakugou. And this is the deciding factor. So, Deku is going to charge Bakugou using his gloves, and what ends up happening here is this. He grabs a hold of Bakugou, and using his feet, he propels himself up in the air, blowing him high up in the air, and then ripping off his gloves and shoving them into Bakugou's back collar, and then clapping his hands, blowing him up, and not realizing that the force is taking him down, hitting Deku. But at this point, Bakugou's knocked out, Deku's knocked out, it's just who wakes up first at this point. And Deku wakes up first. And he's declared the winner. And actually, no, I'm going to say, because why not? They're on equal footing. I'm going to say that, Deku is going to be, they're both going to tie on first place. And they're going to be holding it up together. Fuck it. We're doing that. You can't change my mind. We're doing that. It's going to be a tie for the first time in UA history. And they both, like, wake up at the exact same time. So, yeah. And, yeah, this is going to be what Deku's hero costume will probably look like later on. So, that's fun. Now, I might find more pictures of what Anarky looks like, or I might just go with whatever Deku's got as a hero costume and work with it. So, yeah. Deku is going to be choosing the name Anarky. How you spell that is Anarky. You could just look at the title of the video. So, yeah. So, yeah, this was What If Deku Was Anarky Part 1. So, yeah. Have a good day and a good night, and peace out. So, yeah. Have a good one.